You can't trust a woman named Angela. Name me anyone you've met named Angela who actually behaves like an angel. Remember those times when we were younger, when you're still all innocent about love, so when you have crushes on someone, you crush hard? Angela was my crush. I met her in French class, and instantly I thought, I've got to try and hit on this chick. She was an Aussie, right? But she was an Asian Aussie, so she was born here, but her parents were from Hong Kong. And just from her confidence and the expensive stuff she wore, you knew her parents were rich, and you could just tell she was someone who never struggled with love. If in some bizarre world she were to become a writer like you and me, she would never write about love, because it never would have been something that bothered her. Maybe she'd write action movies, or better yet, she'd get some simple like me to write her a beautiful movie about love for her. And he'd do it too, without asking for any money because whatever, right? Anyway, this girl, Angela, I had no confidence to talk to her. I was this skinny, dorky guy with absolutely no game. So I spent 6 months in the gym. I spent 6 months watching thousands of hours of YouTube videos and dating, on sales. And I'm an introvert, you know this, right? And even if I hated it, every uni group project I had, I volunteered with much pain to be the leader and the presenter. I even took up Toastmasters, bro. I was serious, and I was seriously in love with someone who didn't know I existed. So fast forward 6 months, and I've become this wannabe Chad guy, and guess what? It worked. I somehow charmed my way into getting someone way out of my league to have a drink with me in this bar named Fat Louie's. So she rocks up, perfectly dressed, expensive perfume, expensive everything, looking so good, and I quickly learned something. If you want an easy life, you should only admire sirens from a distance. If you want an Angela, you've got to be prepared that everyone else wants an Angela too. On her phone are literally hundreds of men who are better looking than you, who are more accomplished than you, and who will be willing to betray and murder you just for a text back from her. And this is a perfect example. Before Angela even reaches me, someone, this huge guy with his huge biceps and a teardrop tattoo on his face, walks up to her and asks for her number. But you know what? It wasn't so bad, because she did this thing that made me feel like the luckiest fella in the world. She brushes him off and she sits in front of me and we talk. I was in such bliss that I don't even remember what we talked about. All that kept running through my head was that, wow, man, she rejected a guy and she's now talking to me. She's giggling at my jokes, she's patting my arm and even doing the hair twirly thing girls do with guys they're interested in. And I'm thinking and thinking and thinking, please don't let this dream end, mate. Please don't go home. And most importantly, please don't tell me you have a boyfriend. And then she mentions her boyfriend. And for 30 seconds, my world comes crashing down. But then I remember my 6 months of hard work. You think doing Toastmasters was fun? I breathed in and I thought, I can work with this. So Angela and I keep having drinks, and by now, instead of sitting in front of me, she's sitting next to me. I quickly take a toilet break, but when I come back, this gang of huge African dudes, the biggest guys I'd ever seen, had invited her to their pool table, and they're laughing together, and one of them just straight out kisses her, man, and she kisses him back, and they laugh, and he gets her phone number, and he says bye, and then she joins me again. What? And I know if you're listening to this story, you'll say, that is a red flag, bro. Just leave, you pussy. But you weren't there, and you're a hypocrite because you would have also stayed. I know you. So I ignored all this. We drank some more, and I'm drinking even more now to try and forget what just happened. And make sure to remember this next part, because she stares at my neck for maybe 20-30 seconds. And when she does this, stupid old me, I say, I think I'm in love. And then she giggles and she brushes her hair behind her ear. And in that moment, I remembered being a kid again, when you could pick up any object and look at it as if it was the most amazing and beautiful thing in the world. This was truly peak joy, mate. Angela grabs my hand and says, let's go for a drive. I say with absolute timidity, but we've been drinking. And she says nothing, so I follow her blindly like she was an object of worship. Her car was obviously a very expensive car and it was obviously given to her by a very rich dad. We go for a drive and she's driving like mad, like quadruple the speed of everyone else. And part of me is thinking, man up, brother, tell her to stop or else we'll die or worse yet, kill someone. But then the bigger, more selfish part of me was thinking, I had never felt this free in my life. I had stuck by the rules for eternity, and all it brought me was a terrible loneliness. And my heart leapt around excitedly as everything outside became this ridiculous blur. She completed me, and I was a kid again, and the future was an adventure, and life was this sweet mystery. And this is when things got messed up. We were on the highway, right? Speeding to the Gold Coast, and she was wearing this short skirt. So she pulls down her panties, they were lace by the way, and throws them to the back of the car. She then says, there's some pills in the glove compartment. You can take one and I want you to put the other one in my ass as we drive. My beautiful childhood memories vanished on the spot there and then. And I immediately thought about the bacteria. I was just never an ass person, alright? So I tried to make up these excuses like I can't find the pills, I'm drunk, and I stuttered along and I kept trying to change the subject so hopefully since she was drunk, she'd forget. But she insisted, put that pill in my ass. And she said if I also put another pill in my ass, we were both going to a parallel dimension. Parallel dimension? That was a weird thing for her to say. But before I could think much of that, she screams, and there's this strong jolt, and I see through the windscreen, the night sky, and the city lights, and all these strange things spinning fast, violently. We were in an accident. Trust me, you do not want to be in an accident, my friend. My head jolted hard in several directions, and I thought my neck was going to snap, and I was instantly going to die as the car rolled along goodness knows where we were. Was I paralyzed? Was this it? Were we dead? Was I dead? I was scared to even look down at my legs just in case I couldn't move them. The only sound I could hear came from Angela's phone. It was from her purse, and she was getting a bunch of text messages. Just this loud beeping, this constant beeping, constant messages, as if 1,000 people wanted to angrily text her at the same time. I turned to her in pain, and she's just slouched there, her head down. She wasn't moving. It didn't look like she was breathing. I tried to say something, but stopped. I started again, but stopped again. I don't know what was happening. I finally was able to ask, with complete fear, by the way, a kind of fear I'd really never felt until then. I asked, are you okay? And at that moment, the beeping on her phone completely stops. And I'll never forget this. She looks up and her eyes, I don't know, maybe it was because of the lighting, but they're like yellow all around, everything, pure yellow. And you wouldn't believe this. She says, you should have put that pill up my ass. And I don't know how to react, so I just laugh. And then she kind of laughs, but then her eyes, they're still yellow. And once again, she's staring at my neck. She moves forward, and I think, this is the worst occasion for a first kiss, but I'll do it anyway. And I lean forward, but she moves towards my neck instead, and she bites. She bites hard, like someone would bite a piece of meat. She bites so hard I could actually hear her teeth enter my flesh and her chew. I tried to push her away, but she didn't let go, and I wanted to push harder, but I was afraid that in doing so, I'd make her tear a huge chunk out of my neck. And then I felt my blood leaving me. And what I think about the most is the sound she made as she drank my blood. It sounded like a baby drinking milk. I knew then and there that she'd had me, that she'd won, that I was her meal and it was all over. But this was one of those, you had to be there kind of things, because you're gonna hate me for this, but it felt so good. It was like that feeling you have when you finally chuck a shit after holding it in for so long. It was this crazy release, my heart pumping to give me blood and me desperately offering my blood to her. But what's wild is I don't die from this. She eventually pulls away. We get out of the car and stumble around to realize the car had rolled down some hill. We walk silently for like 30 minutes until we find a Macca's. I have a fillet of fish and she has a triple cheeseburger, and we eat in silence, and we both get picked up by her boyfriend in this G-Wagon of his. None of us say anything in the ride until the boyfriend, the skinny guy with big eyes and baggy clothes, turns around and says, okay if we drop you off at the nearest bus stop, bro? And I say, sure mate. And he drops me off And she stops replying to my text after that, and she never returns to French class. And I never hear from her again until 10 years later when I see her post a photo of her with this bald guy on Facebook, and together they have this baby. And so I comment on it and say, "Oh, congrats, I'm so happy for you." And she reacts with a like, but never writes anything back. Anyway, Angela, I hope you enjoy this short story and that your husband can use it for his next film. Don't worry, I didn't write it with ChatGPT, ha ha ha. If you want any changes, just let me know. Happy to do them, lol. And if you're busy, but if you want to have some lunch someday, I'm always available, but all good if you're busy. If you need anything, call me, text me, message me anytime.